I love the 1980 classic Maniac, directed by William Lustig and starring Joe Spinell. No, I don't know if I would say that it's like one of my I mean, I like it. I don't know, all-time favorite. Why would you think that? The main Frank? You think that I would relate to Frank? Why do you think that I would relate to Frank? Vivian, you are here. I'm talking to you right now. You don't know what issues I do or don't have. You know what? You're not allowed to be in this video then, because I don't want to hear it throughout this whole thing.
It's a Friday once again.
Hello, my fellow freaks, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you have all had not just a good week, but a good 2 weeks, since I didn't see you guys last week. Also, if I'm sitting higher than usual, I had to adjust the height on my camera. I got a new chair, so that's why. But yes, I hope you have all had a very great 2 weeks. I did not upload a video last week. I was busy traveling right in the middle of the week, and I didn't want basically, I didn't want the chaos of trying to make a video come out on time while also doing what I was doing, which for my father's birthday this year, I got us tickets to go see a stage production of Les Miserables in Columbus, Ohio. That's where I was at. It was a really great time and he loved it a lot. I had already seen it on Broadway before, but he actually kind of likes the musical a little bit more than me, and I always knew that I wanted to take him to it, so that's where I was last week. I was taking my father to go see a musical that we both love a whole lot. So thank you for bearing with me on that and for all of your patience. And also, if you didn't see my little video, we reached over 500 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. That is a huge milestone. I'm very hype about it. If you didn't see my little video before, this is my thank you right now. Thank you guys so much for all of the continued support that I have gotten on this channel. I think it's fantastic. 500 is a massive number, and here's to 500 more. So as some of you might know, others maybe not, maybe this is the first video you've seen of mine, maybe you've only seen one or two, a handful, whatever. But some of you may know this, some of you may not. I really hate remakes. Like, I hate remakes. Anytime I hear that a movie, especially a horror movie that I love, is being remade, immediate hate in my heart. And that's not a controversial take, I know, but the reason why I'm not so completely against remakes. I think that remakes can have a very positive purpose in film. The problem is that majority of time when there's a remake, somebody's taking something that is already good on its own and then making it significantly worse for like a cash grab, rather than doing what I think the purpose of remakes should be, which is taking older stuff that have really cool concepts but poor executions, and taking those cool concepts and working them to their full potential. I think that's how remakes should be handled. Majority of the time that is not how they're handled, and that's why I hate them. However, there is a remake that has caught my attention only within the last week or two, and ever since I learned about its existence, it has not left my mind. I kind of scheduled this week simply because I can't stop thinking about it, and I had to watch it out of morbid curiosity. And that film is Maniac from 2012 and directed by Frank Calfoun. I had no idea that they even remade Maniac, let alone remade Maniac with Elijah Wood as Frank ZITO.
When will you wear wigs?
Are you kidding me? That's what drew me into this, is that our Frank is fucking Elijah Wood. Now, I like to look at, like, you know, the little trivia page on IMDb and whatever, and I saw that there was some discussion over, like, the casting of Elijah Wood initially being pretty controversial because people thought he was too attractive to play Frank. A couple things on this. One, original Frank is not that, he's just Italian. I'm sorry, maybe I'm weird, but I don't think initial original Frank is exactly that bad looking. He just looks Italian. So how dare you be so prejudiced against Italians? But also, when I saw that Elijah Wood was playing Frank, my immediate reaction was, that guy is such a little weirdo freak. He would make the perfect Frank. And he does. I'm just gonna tell you right now, he does make the perfect Frank. And I was very happily surprised by the fact that a lot of the very funny Elijah Wood like meme photos that float around actually just straight up come from this film, thus proving my point even more that he is a weirdo freak that is perfect for playing Frank ZITO. And I know I started this whole video with a rant about how much I hate remakes, but let me start this video by kind of stating that I don't hate this. I don't hate it. I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised by this remake, and I will explain to you why. But first, if you are new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. Any kind of loud noises, running, crashing that you might hear going on in the background, those are my cats, although they are all very strangely quiet right now. I'm a little bit suspicious. Also, my movie reviews tend to be more of a discussion of elements that I find to be good or bad about a piece, rather than just giving you this whole play-by-play, detail by detail rundown of every single thing that happens. So in other words, I try to refrain from spoilers as much as possible, but they will arise as they pertain to the discussion that I want to have with the film. I'll go ahead and tell you right now though, there are no spoiler talk. There's no spoiler talk in this. Jesus, if I can speak. If you would like to watch Maniac 2012 before the rest of this review, you can do so on our good friend Tubi TV. I will provide a link in the description so it is that much easier for you to go out and watch this film. The original 1980 version is also available on Tubi in case you were curious. We are not sponsored by Tubi. It is not a sponsored link. However, my inbox is open, you guys. I do shout you out almost every single video. I love ya. I love you a lot. And with all of that, let's get right into the rest of this review. Maniac 2012 follows a somewhat similar storyline to the original 1980 cult classic, following Frank ZITO, an awkward loner who works in mannequin restoration. While Frank may come across as a quote-unquote timid man to any stranger on the street, Frank's nightly hobby of scalping women makes headlines across the city. But Frank's attitude towards women slowly begins to change after meeting Anna, a photographer who focuses on mannequins as models and adores Frank's work. However, as the two grow closer to each other, Frank's mental state slips further and further into insanity. Hey, so I didn't expect 99% of this film to be in the first person point of view. Nothing prepared me for that at all. This is one of the very rare occasions where I didn't skim reviews before watching it. And you know why? Because it's Maniac. I know Maniac. It's either gonna be good or bad. It's a remake of a cult classic. So every now and then I skim reviews either before or after watching something. I didn't this time. And also I'll move to the side and put up a little screenshot right here. When you look at the initial pictures for Maniac on the IMDb page, they're just pictures of Elijah Wood and it looks like a normally shot film. So imagine my surprise and shock when this opening clip that has like a cute gimmick of, you know, being the killer's eyes just during this introduction. Imagine my surprise when this cute gimmicky introduction just doesn't end. I will be going over this into a little bit more detail, specifically in our next chapter, and just the love-hate relationship I have on this. I'm so totally 50-50 on the decision to make this 99% first-person perspective, because there is a very odd 1% where we will very randomly go into the third person before going back into first. We'll go over it. But yeah, I guess this is just a heads up. If you didn't know, now you know. Now, where normally I feel like in the synopsis I'll include a few other things about the narrative or what have you, I feel like majority of my discussion has to do with the narrative anyway, so I don't have very much to say here. But I do want to tease you a little bit with this. I think the way Calhoun went about doing this remake shows that he is probably a big fan of the original. original. There is a lot that he ends up reimagining or doing differently within the film, while still remaining true to the source material. And so because of that, I will go ahead and tell you this remake feels like it was made very respectfully and perhaps even with some love rather than just corporate greed. So as I stated, Maniac 2012 is shot 99% of the time through a first-person perspective through the eyes of Frank. And I really genuinely feel so 50-50 about the decision to do the camera work this way. I will say that I do like it a little bit better upon my rewatches than my initial viewing, where I was just like, oh, it's just not going away. But even so, I'm still not crazy about it sometimes. For me, it is genuinely a 50-50 love-hate relationship that I have with the camera work in this. But before going into some of the reasons why I don't like it sometimes, let's go over the moments where I at least personally think that the first person perspective is working well or succeeding. So listen, I'm not gonna deny, we do get some really cool moments, some really cool cinematic shots out of the film being shot at a first person point of view.
Don't worry. It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, for the most part, there are a lot of moments where it is working. For example, one of the moments that really stands out to me is sort of early on. It's a scene where Frank is in this girl's apartment and he's laying on the bed staring up at himself in like a ceiling mirror that this girl has. And it kind of zooms in on him. I'm gonna talk about the zoom ins here in a second. But it kind of zooms in on him. You can't see exactly what he's doing, but then he moves to go up to sit up and look at the girl that he's with. And I think the movement of like seeing him look up at the mirror and then like the smooth camera work of sitting up with him to look at this girl, it's not only a cool shot, but it is some really smooth, impressive camera work as well. It's one of the moments where it is like really cool to actually see out of the person's eyes. And that's just one example. There are a few moments like this where the camera work is really smooth and you feel like you are literally this person's eyes or this character's eyes. However, it's not just for the sake of like cool shots that I really like the first person point of view or first person perspective. There's actually a bigger reason why I like it, and probably also why many others like it, which is getting to literally see the deterioration of Frank's sanity and to literally see what he is seeing. So in their original film, we know Frank has some kind of issue going on. We understand that he thinks that there are people who are there that aren't, or mistakes somebody who's like a hoe for his mom, or he sees the mannequins around him as real actual people. Also moments where he gets flashbacks of his childhood. In the original, we know that this happens. We see him experience it. But in this remake, the audience gets to literally see what it is that Frank is seeing in these moments. And that's kind of cool, especially if you're a big fan of the original. Because we are watching the narrative literally through his eyes, we get to see exactly how the mannequins come to life.
Don't worry. It's fine. It's fine.
Why are you ignoring me? Huh? No, wait. This is impossible. No! Why are you doing this to me? Are you too? Why? Oh, you're just like her! You do the same things as her!
Or how his hallucinations work, how a hoe on the street can go between being a stranger and being his mother within a blink of the eye. Or even better, like watching him get paranoid in public. One of my favorite scenes, and it's again pretty early on, is when he is at a restaurant on a date with the same girl that I mentioned before, and he just has this moment where it's like everything goes quiet and he slowly looks around him and every single person in the restaurant is just staring at him. Moments like that are really neat, and that's a really good use of the first person perspective for the audience to literally see how Frank's mental state is impacting him and how he interacts with his environment. That is really cool. I especially like it whenever we see the mannequins come to life or see somebody turn into a mannequin, what have you. There are a few really cool moments in this. And of course, I think that is like a cool way of, it's staying true to the original narrative, but tweaking it some to be a little bit more creative or unique or of its own. One thing that I feel like made Maniac 1980 stand out is that we are following the killer rather than the victim, and we also get like this insight of like these deeper psychological problems that the killer has, especially with his mommy issues. And I think where Maniac 2012 stands out is that we are literally seeing through the killer's eyes. And I get it. Like, I think it matches with the original where it stood out for being focused on the killer. This is standing out because we are literally seeing and understanding from the, like, as close to being the killer as possible, looking through his eyes and seeing his hallucinations and seeing his paranoia and seeing his flashbacks and everything else. I think the first person perspective is really, really good for that. However, I would be lying if I did not mention how much I felt like it is a corny ass gimmick. Like it has moments where it feels so gimmicky, like so gimmicky. Like what was that? Editor Rachel, look it up. What was that action movie? It makes me think of that. And when I see that, I think it ended up actually being a good movie. I don't know, but all I see is the gimmick. All I see is the gimmick. And sometimes it gets so corny and unnecessary, and sometimes it actually ruins the scene for it to be in the first person perspective.
What the fuck? Leave me the fuck alone! Get away from me!
And this is going to be a comment that might be a little bit nitpicky. It might be a little bit more like personal to me, but there were moments where I felt like I was more distracted by it being in first person point of view rather than like immersed in it being that way. And I found it distracting because, as I've already kind of warned, I started to nitpick the way that it was done and the inconsistencies that become present from trying to shoot it this way. And so I ended up thinking about that a lot more than I was paying attention to the narrative that's in front of me. For example, one of the little things that really drove me insane anytime it happened was when the camera wasn't perfectly aligned with what Wood's eyesight. His field of vision. Whenever the camera was not like perfectly where his face would be in relation to the rest of his body, it would annoy me. I would notice it and it would annoy me. You know, a lot of the times in these moments, the camera is more off. You can tell that it is so very obviously just like off to the side of his head and not actually his eyes looking forward. But I mean, you've introduced it as first person point of view, and so I'm a little bit distracted when we are suddenly no longer actually his field of vision, not exactly where his eyes would be, but literally right off to the side of his head, and you can like very plainly tell that's where the camera's at, you know? Okay. This is going to be so nitpicky. Remember this is so nitpicky. This is like personal. This is what I experienced, and these are my trains of thought. But another thing that I thought was really distracting when we are supposed to be, you know, Frank's eyes, were all of the zoom ins and jump cuts that the camera would still make.
Get away from me!
like with the camera being just to the side of his head, it would distract me because we're supposed to be somebody's eyes right now. I understand suspension of disbelief, and I know I am taking this way too seriously, like way too seriously. I acknowledge that. But it would genuinely distract me when we are supposed to be Frank's eyes, and Frank's eyes are doing a very dramatic, cinematic zoom-in shot like he's a cyborg. Do you know what I mean? Or another example is that there was a moment where I noticed that, I think it was still one of those moments where the camera was off to the side, and if I can find it, I will include it to show you, but Elijah Wood puts his, like, fingers over his eye, but we don't get that same effect on the camera. We see the fingers pass his eye, but they do not pass the camera, which is supposed to be his eyes. So to me, it felt distracting because I felt like I was noticing the inconsistencies and weird stuff more, and I felt like I was nitpicking the way that it was done more than I was paying attention to the film, at least on my initial watch. And finally, I just in general thought it was dull and it got old after a while. Like, you know, I genuinely think that there are scenes that would have benefited more from being third person perspective, and that just, like, I don't know, it got, what can I say? It got dull. It got gimmicky. It just, I don't know, it got old. I feel like I would have rather seen a mixture of third person and first person, and the first person focusing on, like, Frank's mental state, but I also understand it's like this cool selling point to have the whole thing shot in first person, and, you know, whatever. It's fine. I'm 50-50 on it. It's a love-hate relationship. But also, can I point out, like, the reasons why I like it being first-person perspective? It doesn't have to be first-person perspective to still do those things. Understanding how Frank sees his hallucinations, how things change in front of him, his paranoia, those are all things that you can still convey in the third person or through, like, an omniscient point of view. You don't have to be in first person to convey those things. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but has David Lynch not conveyed those things without going into the first person point of view? I'm just saying, like, it's not necessary to convey the things that it's conveying, but it is a cool way of doing it, I suppose. But it also kind of gets old and gimmicky. Like, what can I say? It is just, like, this truly love-hate relationship that I have with it. And I think that's how other audience members are probably going to feel about it as well. I can see a whole lot of people actually thinking it's super cool and loving the full thing and not seeing anything wrong with it. That's fine. But, you know, I can also see quite a few people not liking it, and I understand why somebody would not like it. I liked it some of the time. Other times, I really wish it was just in third person perspective, you know? Especially because, like, I wanted to literally see Elijah Wood being Frank, you know? That's why I was excited for it. But we mostly see just through his eyes. Maybe that's part of the purpose. Maybe it's like the thing where people get upset because Nick Cage doesn't talk in Willy's Wonderland because he usually has big crash outs. Maybe they didn't want to show Elijah Wood's face because, like, I think he would have had some crazy ass faces if we were allowed to see his face throughout the entirety of that film. So I hate remakes. Like, I do. I'm might be one of the biggest haters of remakes to ever exist. I see that something has been remade, I almost immediately hate it, because majority of the time the remake is just not warranted at all. So imagine my utter shock and surprise when I watched Maniac 2012 and didn't just completely despise it. If I'm being honest with you, I think that Calhoun might have actually done the impossible, which is remake a horror movie and fill it with love and care and creativity rather than just corporate Hollywood greed and cash grabbing. At least that is what I saw from this film when I watched it. As I stated within the synopsis, Calhoun's Maniac, it feels like a slight reimagining of the original while still remaining true to that original narrative. There are creative and new things taking place. There are a little bit different routes that Calhoun takes, but overall, this film is not straying far from its source material, and I love that. And many of the changes or decisions that Calhoun made for this film, I actually kind of like, and I kind of agree with. I actually believe a lot of the choices and changes that he made to the film actually adds to the story rather than taking it away or trying to pretend like it's not the original at all. Like, do you know what I mean? Sometimes a remake is a remake that's trying not to be a remake. That's not Maniac 2012. It knows that it's a remake, and it's taking the initial narrative and just like doing a few different tweaks to make it Calhoun's own, kind of. For example, one of the changes that I liked was just Anna in general. In the original Maniac, Anna is your standard photographer with a studio and live models, and there's this big focus on like glitz and glamour and fame and money kind of surrounding her, you know, like high society, I suppose you could say. But the 2012 Anna is a lot more laid back. She's a lot more indie and avant-garde, and she's still a photographer, but her models are mannequins rather than live models. And so in this 2012 version of Maniac, Anna and Frank come together over their mutual love and passion for mannequins. And honestly, I feel like that's something that helps to bring their characters closer together, and it makes a lot more sense than how the original, I'm gonna be honest, the original, their relationship just feels random. I rewatched the original Maniac while I was doing the review for this, and I mean, even the first time I ever watched it, I felt like the relationship between Frank and Anna was random, that it was odd, that I felt very meh about it. I mean, there's not a lot relating the two to one another. Making Frank and Anna share a common interest and a common passion, I think, is a great way to make it make sense why these two are getting so close to each other. And it fits a lot better narratively, in my opinion. I don't know, I really like the 2012 Anna. I think she is better suited as a like believable partner for Frank. Another little teeny tiny detail that I loved a lot is I'm sorry, but if Frank ZITO was alive and like in his 20s or 30s in the 2010s, he would absolutely, not even just the 2010s, but let's say like 2002, 2005, he would 100% be the kind of guy that's going on chat rooms and going on like Craigslist and shit. Are you kidding me? I thought that this is like a good way to kind of modernize his creep character. I saw that and I was just like, yeah, 100% Frank ZITO in the 21st century. He would be in the chat rooms, 100%. And of course, I did also love the additional content that we got regarding Frank's mother. We do get to see her more in this film than we do in the original, and we get to see some of Frank's flashbacks or see how, I think as I already said, how Frank can see a hoe on the street as his mom, and you know, it's cool. I like that additional mommy issue content because that is a big focus of Frank's character in the original, and in this remake I think it's just like embellished a little bit more. Narratively, I really don't think I have a single issue with any direction, any choices, any path that this film takes or this remake takes. I like all the changes that Calhoun has ended up making to the story of Maniac, because he changes a little bit, but not enough to make it unrecognizable, and I like that. And I like his changes, I like everything that's going on. I genuinely have no complaints narratively. I think it's a really good story. You'll come to find that my main complaint with this is solely that first person point of view. And as I've already emphasized, this remake of Maniac, it really does come across as somebody who is a fan of the original, somebody who loves the original and just wanted to like put a slightly different spin on it. And I feel like when you watch this, you can tell that Calhoun even just respects the original. And I feel like we can see this not only through the unchanged important details of the narrative that remain, but through all of the little homage details that he includes in the film that I just, oh my god, I love them so much. He has so many little tiny homages to the original in this film. Like that is one of the things that really makes me feel like he's somebody that really cares about the original. On my very first watch, I completely freaked out the first time that we see Frank's apartment because it is almost identical to the 1980s like original Frank's apartment. The purple walls, some of the decorations, all of the mirrors, all of the mannequins, like it's not exactly the same, but it is so similar that I immediately recognized it as being inspired from Frank's original bedroom. And like I get that's such a small detail. That is such a small detail, but I feel like it makes such an impact to fans, if I could be honest. Because it's just something small, you know? He could have made the room look any kind of way, but he chose it to look like Frank's room and their original. And I feel like that's just like such an easy little way to give a nod to other fans of this film. Like it takes nothing to just make it look more like Frank's original bedroom. And I love that. Little detail, little homage that just like made me really happy when I saw it. Also, it was not lost on me the way that his first date describes the way that she thought that he was going to look.
You are totally not what I imagined.
Really? What did you imagine?
Like fat with long black hair and just greasy skin full of acne.
And since I'm already listing off things, there's also just like this little moment where Elijah Wood hits the pose. He does the pose that's in the original 1980 poster. When he hit that post, I was just like, that was just, you know, cute little detail, cute little homage to the original to have him hit the pose. And finally, I think the film just ends, it ends in a very similar homage-like fashion to the original. There are like one, maybe two little details of that ending which are different from the original, but overall, the meat and bones of how that original ends is pretty much the same in this. And I thought, I don't know, I think it's nice that they have the same ending. I think it's nice that Calhoun has decided to end the film in a similar fashion to the original. It again just feels like a nice little homage. Now, the one thing that does suck is that we don't get Elijah Wood screaming mother. Or maybe we do and I wasn't paying attention because it's all in first person and he wasn't like hitting the pose. But still, all of the little details, all of the little like, I keep calling them homages. Like, that's pretty much what they are. All of these little details that are callbacks to the original film, I just think are really nice touches. And again, it just further validates my point that I'm pretty sure Calhoun, he has to be a fan of the original, right? Like, he's put so much like care into this. There's no way he's not. I would be incredibly shocked if Calhoun was not a fan of the original film, just because so much of this remake feels like it is made by a fan. It feels like decisions that a fan would make about a movie they love. He has his own touch to it, he has his own little bit of a twist to it, but all of the main things that make Maniac are still there. He's changed it, but not so much that it's unrecognizable to what it's remaking. And like I said, a lot of the decisions he makes, I think, are actually benefiting the story more than anything. It genuinely feels like it was made with love for the original film. And because of that, it feels like it is one of the only remakes out there that I think was sincerely handled with care when it was being made. And I'm not even embarrassed to say it. I like this remake. This is actually a remake that I enjoy. Besides that first person perspective, like I don't have any problems with the decisions Calhoun did here. And as I said, I feel like he handled it very respectfully and with care. As far as remakes go, I didn't hate this. literally at all. If you like the original Maniac and you think you can stand the camera being in a first-person perspective the entire time, I might say be open to watching this remake because it's really not bad. I feel like Maniac 2012 is an example of a remake done right. And the reason for that is because it is doing some stuff that's different. It does have some reimaginings to it. However, it doesn't stray far from the source material. All of the basics of the narrative, all of what makes Maniac Maniac are still there. There's just like some little creative tweaks, and all of these changes, again, I think benefit it more than anything. And yeah, I like what Calhoun has done here. He's managed to do a remake that has something different and new while still respecting and even paying homage to the original film. The way that I feel about Calhoun's Maniac or Maniac 2012, the way I feel about this remake is the way that I hope to feel about the Magic remake that is inevitably happening. This right here where I'm like, it's not bad, they did some good stuff. This is how I hope I feel when the Magic remake comes out. Please, please, let me have these same emotions over the Magic remake. I can't afford that being ass. But yes, I was pleasantly surprised by this, and as I said, if you like the original Maniac and you think you can stand that first person perspective the entire time, honestly, might want to check it out. This is a film that I could see myself rewatching. However, I would choose to rewatch this a lot more if it was not shot the way it was. That is what's keeping me from being in love with the movie, and that's what's going to kind of impact the score that I'm giving it. And this is something that could change over time. Maybe over time I'll care less about it. Maybe I'll actually like it more over time. I don't know. But right now I feel so 50-50 about that first person point of view, dude. Like, yeah, it has some good moments. Yeah, you get some good shots. Yeah, it's cool that we literally get to see through the killer's eyes. But like I said, all of the things that I feel like are good about it, you're still able to do in a normal perspective. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a hater. I don't know. Tell me your opinion if you've seen it. I'm curious. How do other people feel about it? So, what will I be rating? Oh, by the way, I just now realized I didn't mention anything about special effects or gore. Just quick pin about that. That's also pretty hit or miss. It has some really bad moments of special effects, but then other special effects do make me feel a little queasy. There's this good moment where a girl, the back of her heel gets cut as she's walking, and that's kind of a grody moment. But I'll tell you right now, it's hit or miss. Also, like the perspective, the special effects and gore of this film are 50-50. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. I forgot to throw that in there. So, what tier will I be placing Maniac 2012, Calhoun's Maniac? Well, like, narratively, I do like it as much as the original, but like I said, the first person perspective is kind of getting me a little, and because of that, it is getting the B tier. Like that first person, I feel like I especially have to be in a very specific mood now to rewatch this because of the first person perspective. I'm just not crazy about it. Sometimes it's so ridiculous or it ruins a scene. I'm not always in love with it. I don't think it always works. And I hate that is the sole reason that is keeping me from like wanting to rewatch this more. I think if this were shot in a normal manner, it would actually be A tier, and I would like it literally as much as the original, maybe even rewatch it more than the original. But I have such a love-hate relationship with the perspective of it, dude, and sometimes it's distracting for me personally. Yeah, we get some really cool moments because of it, but like, I don't know, I would kind of rather it be in third person just so I can want to rewatch this more. But because it's in that perspective, I feel like I have to be even more in a specific mood to want to rewatch this, you know? I don't know. And like I said, maybe my opinion on the perspective will change over time. Just not the biggest fan about it, that's all. And with that, we are done with yet another movie review. Thank you guys so much if you stuck around all the way until the end of the video. If you like this video, please make sure that you stab that like button. It is a free and easy way to help support this channel. Also, is there a film that you would like to potentially hear my opinion on? Put it down in the comments below. Anything from horror movies to fantasy movies. I'm now open to fantasy. Leave it in the comments down below and maybe you will see it show up on a future video. Also, did you just like this video so much that you want to hear me ramble about more I was gonna say remakes. I don't know how many remakes I'll do. But horror movies, B movies, we're gonna do a summer in Traumaville if you like trauma. And as I said, I've extended my genre to fantasy as well. If you would like to hear me ramble about more films in general, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can be notified every time I make a new upload. By the way, new uploads are every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on the screen are some of my socials. We are streaming tonight, the night of February 6th. Tonight at about 6 p.m., maybe 6:30 p.m. on the live stream channel, which I will have right here, and it is also linked in the description. We are going to be playing around on some Oregon Trail, specifically Oregon Trail 2. Why am I specifically choosing the Oregon Trail 2? Well, I definitely didn't just watch several hours of Pay Money Webby playing that specific one. I'm influenced easily. We're playing the second one specifically because of a streamer that I like. So if you would like to see that, I'm going to be going live around 6:30 Eastern Standard Time tonight. And if you can't make it, the VODs do stay on the channel. So if you just want some more STARGUTZZZ content, there it is for you. And just one final thank you so much to all of you who stuck around until the very end. Our time here is precious, and the fact that you have used your time to sit here and listen to me ramble and actually sing praises for a remake for once in my life, just thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time and the time that you've spent to sit here and listen to me ramble. Just thank you. I really appreciate it. And also thank you again for over 500 subscribers. I think that's so crazy. Thank you guys so much. If I do not see you in tonight's live stream, then I will see you in the next video. But until then, please have a great night and stay safe out there.
Between the ages of 20 and 30.
They can talk all they want, but they will never understand. As long as you keep a secret. But if you can't, they will find you, and you'll be alone. You hear that? The lot of you. Alone.